Good afternoon. I'm 14 First Alert meteorologist Arden Gregory. Here's a look at temperatures so far through the month of August. It was really hot through the middle of the month. Then we had that cold front last week that dropped us into the 80s. Then another cold front over the weekend that dropped us into the 70s. And the past couple of days, we've been about 10 degrees cooler than average for this time of year with those highs in the 70s. But we've also had lows in the 50s. And we actually set a record this morning. Tuesday morning, we got close. Tuesday morning, the record was 50, set back in 1958, and we only made it to 51. Well, this morning, the record was 51, set back in 1946, and Evansville made it down to 50, and several other locations even dipped into the 40s. So it was chilly out there this morning. This is a live look now at the Owensboro riverfront. Quite a bit of blue sky and sunshine out there right now. We are expecting a few more clouds to build in as we go through this afternoon and evening, but then the lower 80s return to the forecast for some of you as early as today, but for most of us as we get into tomorrow and then through the rest of the week. One thing that doesn't change, though, it stays mostly sunny and dry, at least through Labor Day weekend. So let's take a look at satellite and radar right now. A few clouds out there, mainly on the northern end of the tri-state, and there are more clouds down to the southwest in Missouri and southern Illinois headed our way. So in general, it looks like we'll see more clouds building in as we go through this afternoon and evening, but plenty of sunshine still breaking through. It'll be partly cloudy then overnight and into Thursday morning. Thursday we'll have kind of a mix of sun and clouds on and off throughout the day. Then these clouds move out to the south Thursday night, and Friday will start out mostly sunny. As for our temperatures, most of us sitting somewhere in the mid to upper 70s right now. It is 80 degrees in Greenville. That's kind of the standout. It's 79 currently in Henderson, 78 in Oakland City, Evansville, and Madisonville right now. Owensboro sitting at 77. Now, we are going to tack on a couple more degrees before the afternoon is over. So I do think many of us will end up topping out somewhere right around that 80-degree mark. So upper 70s to low 80s. Later this afternoon. And then we'll start to drop back out of the 70s as the sun begins to set, making our way through the 60s and eventually bottoming out in the mid 50s by the end of the night tonight under those partly cloudy skies. So another cool night, but not quite as chilly as the past couple have been. Tomorrow, a mix of sun and clouds throughout the day and a couple degrees warmer with those highs climbing into the low to maybe even mid 80s in some locations. And then our temperatures just kind of hold steady there. We're talking low to mid 80s from tomorrow all the way through Labor Day weekend and into the start of next week. And even though it is going to warm up a bit, the humidity should still be really comfortable. We saw that big drop in our humidity over the weekend. We've had that cool, crisp, very dry fall-like air across the tri-state for the past couple of days. We will see a very slight uptick in the humidity, but still really comfortable, really pleasant all the way through Labor Day. Then as we get into next week, notice that humidity starts to trend just a little bit higher up into that humid range as we get into Tuesday, Wednesday, and with a little more moisture in the atmosphere, we could also finally see at least a little bit of rain. Today we have this high pressure system parked just right over top of us, and the winds rotate clockwise around a high pressure system. So that's why we had this cool dry air flowing in from the northwest for the past couple of days. If you've stepped outside today, you may have noticed, or not noticed because there wasn't much to notice, there's basically no wind today. It's very calm out there, very quiet, because we're sort of at the center of this now. Well, tomorrow, this high pressure system slides to the east, and so our winds start to pick back up a little bit from the south-southwest, pulling that slightly warmer air into the tri-state, and that's what's going to push us into those low to mid 80s. Now, we'll see some clouds, and there will be some rain nearby, but I really think we're probably going to stay dry then all the way through Labor Day weekend. By Tuesday of next week, we do finally have a shot at some rain, but even that is looking kind of isolated. I'm not sure how much rain we're actually going to get, or if all of us will even get it. We could certainly use some rain, though. A large portion of the tri-state is currently in abnormally dry conditions, but the drought monitor only updates once a week, on Thursdays. So I'm curious to see tomorrow morning if we have any changes to this map, because it has not rained since the last time the drought monitor came out. So it would make sense to me that we'll either see these abnormally dry conditions expanded, or maybe even a level 1 sort of moderate drought start to creep into parts of the tri-state. I think that's very possible. We've got very dry air in place the past few days, low humidity. Everything's just really kind of drying up out there. So one thing we'll be watching for is tomorrow the possibility that these abnormally dry conditions might expand, or drought might even be issued for some parts of the tri-state, as we have not had rain since last Tuesday, and we're not expecting any rain at least through the holiday weekend. So a few clouds here or there. Temperatures topping out in the low to mid 80s, comfortable humidity, so a little bit warmer than the past couple days have been, but still really gorgeous weather, especially for late August when it's typically a little more hot and humid. So beautiful weather all the way through the holiday weekend. As we get into early next week, a little more humid, a little warmer, and an isolated chance of rain. But like I said, even that's not a guarantee, so many of us may still end up staying dry. I'm not seeing any questions, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the forecast, but don't go anywhere. Jamie French will be right back with some of your latest news headlines.
Stay informed on your local news and weather throughout the day by watching the 14 First Alert streaming shows. At 8:30 a.m., get your First Alert forecast to plan the day ahead and catch up on the news that happened overnight with the 14 News Sunrise team. In the afternoon, get the latest headlines, forecasts, and a preview of the stories we're working on with the 14 First Alert streaming show at 2:30. And get an in-depth look at the 14 First Alert forecast so you're ready for the next big thing with the 14 First Alert weather show at 9 p.m. Watch the 14 First Alert streaming show that fits your schedule and works best for you. Streaming on your phone by downloading the 14 News app and the 14 First Alert weather app. On your smart TV by using the 14 News streaming app. And stream anytime on Facebook, YouTube, or on 14news.com. Stay connected and stay informed by watching the 14 First Alert streaming shows on your favorite streaming devices. Live from 14 News, this is a 14 Digital News Desk update.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our 2:30 streaming show. I'm Jamie French. Robinson Miles has the day off today, but we are coming on here with one of the top news headlines across the nation today. You may have already seen this on networks, on the programming over on NBC, on 14 News, all day long today, but there has been a mass shooting in Minneapolis, so we are continuing to follow that breaking news. There has been several updates since then, but if you're not familiar with what's going on so far, let's walk you through what we know. We know that 2 children are dead and 17 victims were injured in a shooting this morning. It was during the first week of classes at a Minneapolis Catholic school. Officials say a suspected gunman took his own life. Police say it was a deliberate act of violence, and the gunman was armed with 3 weapons when he walked into the church where there was an all-school mass. Now, according to police, the children that were killed in this shooting were 8 and 10 years old. We do know that 14 children and 3 adults were injured. Now, hospital officials say at last check, at least 7 of those injured children are in critical condition. Now, earlier today, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz posted on social media that he had been briefed on this incident. He called it a horrific act of violence. Police said this investigation is ongoing. Of course, it will be ongoing for several days, weeks, even months now. Now, right now, if you are also, you maybe had your TV on, or you're also watching us over on NBC programming on WFIE right now, NBC News is doing another special report with the latest information. That might continue to happen all day. Of course, a lot of the other networks as well following this breaking story. We are also going to have more tonight. We've got a lot of more stories to uncover as far as this mass shooting goes, and of course we continue to get updates around the clock. But I do want to sort of bring it back home for just a minute. You know, we do have the Catholic Diocese of Evansville here, and then we also have the Catholic Diocese of Owensboro. They operate all of our Catholic churches and schools across the area. So we have been in contact with them because this was a Catholic community there in Minneapolis, so it certainly hits a little closer to home for folks of the Catholic religion, especially here in Evansville. So the diocese has released a statement regarding this mass shooting. They say, in part, quote, "We are shocked and deeply saddened by the tragedy that occurred at Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis." They say, "Our hearts go out to the students, families, and educators and the entire parish community there that's been affected by this horrific act of violence." Now, they say, while this tragedy did, of course, not occur within our own schools, it does serve as a painful reminder of the importance of vigilance, compassion, care, and the safety and well-being of Evansville Catholic School students. They say it remains their highest priority. Now, Evansville Diocese officials say that they are continuing to review and reinforce their own safety procedures for both schools and churches to ensure a secure learning environment for every child. So they also go on to say that their prayers, their hearts go out to the folks there in Minneapolis and everyone who's been impacted. Certainly a tragic situation that we will continue to follow, and we'll have more tonight on 14 News. Now, quickly before we wrap up back here at home, today was the sort of last back to school day in the tri-state. You know, we've been covering back to school extensively for weeks now. So McLean County Schools was one of the last in the tri-state area to sort of go back to school, and there's been a lot of preparation over the past week as the kids return to the classroom, but it's sort of a big deal because if you might remember, last semester, McLean County Schools pretty much had to shut down to in-person learning for several weeks, even a month, I believe. It was because they had a bunch of snow and ice, and if you remember, the terrible flooding in April really impacted McLean County, and those students were not able to go to school for quite some time towards the end of last year. So they are back in person today. We are there. Our Gabe Puntonis is in McLean County talking to the Cougars and the students, the teachers, that entire Cougar Nation there in McLean County. We're hoping they have a great, easy semester this time around, but Gabe is talking to them sort of about their next steps and how they're sort of taking some extra precautions, you know, if there was to be another significant event that would keep them from going to school again this year. You know, what are their plans? What sort of preparations are they taking? So Gabe is there. Like we said, we're going to have a full report from McLean County Schools later tonight on 14 News. All right, that will wrap things up for us. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great day.